trusted name in news. It was a false alarm, but for 38 terrifying minutes residents of Hawaii were told a ballistic missile threat was imminent. A warning from El Salvador. One man says the country will become a pal if thousands of people lose their protective status in the U.S. Pope Francis is preparing to visit Chile and Peru this week, and controversy will follow him. And just look at this video. A plane in Turkey skidded off the runway, landing in the sea, and guess what? No one was hurt about that one. These stories are all ahead here. We're live from CNN World Headquarters in Atlanta. Welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Natalie Allen. Newsroom stars right now. Music. Our top story: 38 agonizing minutes. That is how long it took for nearly 1.5 million people in Hawaii to find out that a terrifying missile alert was indeed a false alarm. This is what many woke up to those Saturday morning. The U.S. Pacific Command has detected a missile threat to Hawaii. A missile may impact on land or sea within minutes. This is not a drill if you are indoors. This was the nail-biting alert warning of a ballistic missile heading straight to one of the most beautiful places on Earth. All over Hawaii, people ran to take cover in garages, basements, police stations, even isolated concrete bunkers. Turns out the false alert happened because a state worker hit the wrong computer button. We get more on it all from me. Lockout Lincoln with Stephen. Affiliate takes A&L in Honolulu. What happened today was totally unacceptable, and many in our community was deeply affected by this, and I'm sorry for that pain and confusion that anyone might have experienced. A somber apology from the governor as state officials admitted human error was to blame for the false ballistic missile threat alert and the nearly 40 minutes it took for a correction to be issued. There was no automated way to send a false alarm cancellation. We had to initiate a manual process, and that was why it took a while to notify everyone. The mistake happened during a routine test during a shift change at the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency in Diamond Head. Officials confirm an employee erroneously sent the warning, which is disseminated to mobile devices across the state by initially clicking the wrong option during the tests, then confirming a subsequent prompt that distributed the mass alert. There is a screen that says, Are you sure you want to do this? Okay, I can. That's already in place now. We had one person human, and that king was pushed anyway. The employee reportedly didn't realize his mistake until he received the emergency alert on his own device. Officials wouldn't say if the employee will be suspended or relieved of his duties, though they did confirm everyone will receive counseling and retraining as an immediate safeguard to prevent another false alarm. The test the state was conducting has been put on hold, and a future alert will require 2 people. I apologize for this. This is my responsibility, my team, but please keep in mind that again the threat is there. If this comes out, you're gonna have only about 12 to 13 minutes of warning for an actual event, and please take this to heart. Officials say it's imperative that the public's takeaway from this mistake is that they do need to be prepared. The governor says if it had been a real threat, the state siren system would have been activated. They're now investigating reports that some sirens did sound near military bases. The siren should not have gone off. It was not part of this test. Officials are also looking into why some mobile carriers never received the mass warning alert that was mistakenly released. We want the people to know that we are disappointed and angry that this happened. We do know that everyone on the island was affected in some way. We understand that. We are committed to providing the public with a good notification system. How did this happen? Well, of course, an investigation is underway and the results could be reported in the coming weeks. While the missile alert was thankfully false, the speed of such a warning is critical for the Hawaiian Islands. The state's population would have just about 15 minutes to take shelter. CNN's Sarah Seeger is in Hawaii with more on how people reacted. The emergency alert that was sent out to many people here in Hawaii really did create a bit of panic. People were calling family members, telling them that they thought it was the last time that they'd be speaking to one another. A state representative said he gathered his family in the bathroom and had to explain to his daughter when she asked him if we were at war that yes, indeed we were. He wanted them to survive, but then came the message that this was a false alarm that took 38 minutes. Many people waiting that long to find out that indeed there was no inbound missile and that they were safe. In the meantime, Hawaii was the first state in America to go ahead and refurbish and test their attack alert system. What they have done now is trying to figure out how all this went wrong and to try to rectify it. In the meantime, there are people here who are demanding more answers. They're trying to figure out what they are going to do if indeed there is an attack, and the reason for all this obviously is because some of the rhetoric between the President of the United States and the leader of North Korea, that rhetoric ratcheting up, people are nervous, and then comes this alert. It really did shake things up here in Hawaii. Back to you guys. We're also learning how local university students reacted to the false alarm. Ashley Najoka from our affiliate Channel reports from the University of Hawaii, and I banged on their door. I was like, guys, get up, like for real, like we got to get out of here. We have because we already know we have 15 minutes. Austin Coleman, a junior at Manoa, says he saw the alert on his cell phone and immediately ran to wake up his roommates. We're all packing, we're all like panicking and getting stuff ready, like we're getting water and just like some food that we have, and we're all calling our loved ones. Coleman says they decided to leave their dorm room at Freer Hall. They recall seeing the fear in people's eyes once outside. We're coming down outside of here and I just see like people are running past us, like there's like a group of people like crying, like I saw people on the road just like running in the middle of the road. The roommates say they ran here to build your home because they knew there was a fallout shelter, but when they tried to get in, all the doors were locked. Everyone was freaking out. Everyone was on their phones or like what do we do, where do we go? Coleman says someone in the group had a key to a classroom in the Marine Sciences building, so everyone ran there and people were screaming like you got to shut the doors, like it's time's running out, and they're at least was like 200 plus people in there. It was getting hard to breathe. If you had to go to the bathroom, you can't go. It was just a recipe for disaster if the missile had. Eventually the all clear was given. UHF officials say the fallout shelter signage on campus is old, from the Cold War era, and is scheduled to be removed. The university says it is working to identify new shelter locations on campus for its students. The school wants to remind students there are counselors on campus 24/7 and residence hall staff will be checking in with students. Reporting from Manoa, Ashley Najoka, Hawaii News Now. U.S. President Donald Trump was playing golf in Florida when he found out about the incident. Still unknown exactly when he was informed of the alert and when he learned it was a false alarm. Also not known whether the president tried to communicate with Japan, South Korea or China, and whether he ordered any action. CNN senior international correspondent Ivan Watson is following the story from Seoul, South Korea, and certainly Seoul, South Korea would understand what a risk really feels like either. Yeah, and you'd think that perhaps people here would be much more worried than they reveal themselves to be on a day-to-day basis, but Seoul, the city, this capital, South Korea, right next to its North Korean rival, throughout months of North Korean missile launches and nuclear tests, it's really life as usual here. People, for instance, ice skating in a city ice skating rink just a few blocks from where I'm standing today, but some of the jitters of the tension on the Korean peninsula in recent months have been felt in other places like the U.S. island of Guam. I was there reporting in August of last year when North Korea was threatening that island, and there was actually a false alarm that went out over one of the local TV networks over a test of their emergency broadcasting system that issued a civil danger warning, and later the island authorities had to say that this was human error, not on the scale of what we saw in Hawaii, but nonetheless coming. It was bad timing indeed. Meanwhile, Japan, a country that periodically is threatened by North Korea, which often fires missiles in the direction of Japan and even over Japanese territory. Over the course of last year, it's begun conducting drills in different municipalities, and there's one scheduled in Tokyo later this month. That's something with the air raid sirens that many hadn't heard really since World War II, so part of a new reality that has set in over the course of the last year in response certainly to the many missile tests that North Korea has conducted and the tense and threatening talk that has come from Pyongyang as well. Natally, well, there is another kind of talk going on. Thank goodness North Korea and South Korea have met and talked, and they will do so again. What do we know about that? Yeah, we had this first round of groundbreaking talks, the first in 2 years, between North and South Korean delegations last Tuesday, and on Monday there's scheduled to be another round of discussions, a working level discussions, and this will mostly focus on culture, because now that North Korea is planning going to attend the upcoming Winter Olympics here in South Korea. As part of that agreement, it's supposed to send an art troupe to attend the Pyeongchang Games, and so they're going to be cultural officials, representatives from the symphonies of both countries that are going to meet along the demilitarized zone, this time on the North Korean side of the demarcation line. We've also learned one further detail that the South Korean delegation in last Tuesday's talks asked about possibly trying to put North and South Korean athletes from the women's ice hockey teams together in a unified team. Still waiting for an answer from Pyongyang on that. Of course, that has been something that's been floated in the past year in South Korea and has come under some criticism, with concerns that some South Korean athletes might lose their spots on the team if you have to bring in North Korean athletes. But all of this is a sign of a thaw between the rivals around the upcoming Winter Olympics. Natally, we thank you, Ivan Watson, for us there. And Seoul Chinese State TV says the oil tanker that was in a collision has finally sunk. They report a huge explosion on the vessel around noon local time. It had been adrift and burning off the coast of Shanghai for more than a week after a collision with a bulk freighter. 32 crew members were on board and only 3 bodies have been found. But again, it has Donald Trump once promised Haitian Americans he would be their champion. Now many of them feel betrayed by his hateful insult. We'll have a story next year. Plus, Agent M is temporarily closing its doors in South Africa after protests over this ad that some say is racist. Details ahead. Music. Immigration advocates here in the U.S. are welcoming a temporary legal victory. The Trump administration says it is accepting some renewal applications to protect young undocumented immigrants from deportation. The federal government is complying with a court ruling which for now prevents the administration from ending the program known as DACA. Officials say new applications will not be accepted as permitted by the court. President Trump's reported insults about Haiti and Africa are not fitting well in many parts of the world. Mr. Trump denies using the exact words attributed to him and probably heard them by now, but others who were there confirmed he did in fact say them, and that's causing a lot of anger in Miami's Haitian community. CNN's Gailey Harding has our report. To be president of all Americans, that's everybody, and whether you vote for me or you don't vote for me, I really want to be your greatest champion, and I will be your champion with you. That was then candidate Donald Trump speaking in Miami's Little Haiti neighborhood just months before the 2016 presidential election. The Asian people deserve better, and that's what I intend to give them. I will give them back. But in the wake of reports that the president complained about immigrants coming from quote shithole countries among other disparaging comments, residents here in the largest Haitian community in the U.S. agree they deserve better. When I just read it, I feel so it's wage and but also society, I cried. Faralaru, a Haitian living in Miami under temporary protected status or TPS, gave candidate Trump the benefit of the doubt and took him at his word, but she said the president has now shown his true colors, so this is how he treats us. Though we can see that now, we're seeing the will face of the lamb shop, and this is a face of hate, of racism, the life of immigrants in 21st. LaRue is one of the more than 20,000 Haitians living in South Florida now facing deportation after the Trump administration announced it would end the country's TPS status. Trump reportedly made the demeaning comment during immigration policy negotiations on Thursday. He has denied saying anything derogatory about Haitians, saying in a tweet Friday morning that he claimed he had a quote wonderful relationship with them. You're telling me that you have a great relationship with Haitian people? How is that possible? Little Haiti came out in mass on Friday, an event originally intended to commemorate the 8th anniversary of the earthquake that devastated the island nation and killed as many as 300,000. But with the president's slurs still fresh, a solemn memorial at times resembled an ag-Trump rally. We are here full. Dad, was he the Trump? Hazy is not what he called it. Haiti is a proud mission. Music. For the American president, who thought he would be Haiti's greatest champion. By the way, to stand up and make such a comment at this time, it just leaves me reeling, it leaves me angry, it leaves me offended, it leaves me hurt, and it leaves me wanting justice, just as perhaps to be delivered at the ballot box. I'm gonna make sure that we work to remember what he said and the midterm elections of this year 2018, and clearly we will not have short memories in 2020. Gailey Harding, CNN Miami. We'll wait and see. Windows those midterm elections take place later this year. Let's bring in James Davis, who joins us from Munich, Germany. He's Dean of the School of Economics and Political Science at the University of Stuttgart. Thank you for joining us, sir. I want to just play off what we just saw there, the hurt, the anger from that Haitian community in Miami. What's your reaction to how people are reacting to what this president uttered? I think the reactions are understandable. The President of the United States took an oath to the Constitution, and it's supposed to be the president of all Americans, irrespective of where they come from, irrespective of their religion, their racial identity. And this president keeps demonstrating that he seems to categorize Americans according to their ethnic or religious or racial identity, and that is something that is not unifying but rather dividing. It's divisive, and I think it's completely understandable. The Haitian community that feels very disappointed with this president at this point. All right, the African leaders are demanding an apology from this president, but let's look at the bigger picture. Does this tarnish the reputation of the United States globally or diminish its moral authority as a world leader? Well, I think you hit it right on the head. When you are an American who lives abroad as I do, you come to understand that America is not seen by the world as just another great power, another strong power like China or like Russia, but rather the United States is seen as an idea, and much of the influence that we have in international politics derives from the fact that people around the world buy into that idea. That idea is an idea that derives itself from timeless values that we have enshrined in our Declaration of Independence, in our Constitution, and people believe in those around the world. In the United States has always been seen as perhaps imperfect, but the country that most clearly stood up for those ideals. The president's words, his actions erode the belief in America as the leader that is committed to these ideas, and matter roads are influenced, and I think that's something that the president cannot reverse just by building up his economy, just by building up the armed forces of the United States. Rather, we have to work on recovering that moral authority that we get from standing firm for those values that are enshrined in our founding documents. And I want to get your take on what we saw happen in Hawaii with the accidental warning of a ballistic strike. Certainly an employee made a big mistake, but the world is on edge because of North Korea and their pursuit of their nuclear goals. The rule is on edge because Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump engage in the rhetoric of the threats, the immature sophomoric jabs at one another and many countries. And now we see Hawaii. I have had to take new and accelerated steps to make sure they're prepared in case the worst were to happen, and it illustrates in part, does it not, that the president's words matter. The president's words do matter. Those of us that study international security and atomic diplomacy really don't think that there's any rational way to do it for two atomic powers to get into a war. It makes no sense. There's no way you can win this sort of a war. The costs would far exceed any benefits. However, there is the possibility that states can stumble into wars, that they can, through a series of misperceptions, through a series of error, land in the conflict that neither of them really wanted. That's the danger. And when you have a president who doesn't seem to understand that his words, his actions can be misinterpreted by others, when you have a leader in North Korea who is also playing this type of a game, the chances for that type of error are of course raised. And then when you have human error in a technological system as we did over the weekend, the situation can indeed get out